booked for 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Do you have any final questions before we wrap up?
Imagine having your own team of AI voice agents that are constantly answering the phone 24/7 and booking prospects into sales calls without you having to lift a finger. Now, this is possible with AI, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can build your own AI voice assistant that books prospects into Google Meetings and sends out the calendar invite to the prospect. If you don't know me, my name is Jose Robinson, and I build AI and automated systems to help businesses scale, save time, and make more money. So, without further ado, let's get right into the tutorial. So this is how the architecture of the voice agent that we're going to build together will look like. We're using a platform called Vapi to set up the voice agent, and from there we have three different functions that the voice agent is going to call in order to book prospects into a meeting. So the first function is get current date and time, and so it has a reference point. The next function is it's going to go into my calendar and look at all of the busy slots and all of the available slots. And then finally, once the prospect tells them that one of the available slots works for them, the AI agent goes ahead and books the call in Google Calendar and sends the invite. So there's two types of voice agents that you can build. The first one is a static agent, which is directly within Vapi, very easy to set up, but very, very limited in functionality. Or the second one is a transient assistant, where we connect it to an automation platform, which then allows us to create really complex and powerful systems, since at that point, you can pretty much have the voice agent do anything you want. So let's head right into Vapi to see how this all looks. Here we are in the Vapi dashboard. So to get started, you would go into Assistants and you would create a new assistant. Here we have a couple of different quick start templates that you can go ahead and choose, or you can go ahead and start with a blank template. So I already went ahead and created the assistant. So we're going to exit out of that, and then you're going to come to a page that looks like this. And this is going to be empty if you chose the blank, or there will be some pre-filled information if you chose one of the templated ones. In this case, I had already added the prompt. So we have your Jen, a sales appointment setter for Expert Consulting, a B2B consulting agency that helps businesses scale their revenue through content generation. Your goal is to book prospects into meetings when they call. You are to follow these steps: warmly greet and ask the prospect for their name. After greeting, ask if they're interested in a 30-minute free strategy session with one of the consultants. If they reply that they're interested, ask if tomorrow morning or afternoon works better for them. Once they decide on morning or afternoon, call get current time. So that's one of the functions or tools that I mentioned here, where it's going to get the current time in order to have a reference point of what today or tomorrow is. When the prospect says, hey, let's do a meeting tomorrow, right off the bat, the bot has no idea what time it is. So this function gives it that visibility. And then right after getting current time, immediately call get schedule while finding the open times based on whether they said morning or afternoon, between 5 a.m. and between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. In our calendar from the variable busy times and get schedule. And I'll explain and show you where this variable is coming from quite soon. Next, reply with 2 open time slots in the calendar and ask for these information: full name, email address, and ensure that you have appointment date and appointment time. I'll provide some context on that as well, and pass that data by calling the final function book meeting to book them in. Once they're booked in, ask if they have any final questions, and that we look forward to the strategy session. Always maintain a professional and friendly tone. So you can just go ahead and copy this prompt exactly. Our first message we have, hey, this is Jen, how can I help you? Over here, you have some parameters related to the AI model. So you can choose between OpenAI, you can use Perplexity, Grok, Anthropic. You can hook up your own custom LLM that you got from Hugging Faces. In this case, we're just going to keep it at OpenAI. We're going to use the GPT-4o cluster. And keep in mind all of these parameters that you change related to the AI, the transcriber, the voice. It affects the cost per minute and it affects the latency. So if you were to use a cheaper model, let's say 3.5, you can see how the cost just went down. Okay, so we're going to use this. In a real live environment, we would have some knowledge-based documents to give the AI voice agent more context into its role at the company it's working for, and how to reply to common queries during the phone call. Max tokens, we can leave that at 250. You can also detect emotion in the voice. Haven't needed it yet, but it's a pretty cool feature. Here we go to transcriber. In this case, I just keep it at the default with DeepGram and Nova 2. For voice, I'm using 11 Labs, but you can also use Rhyme. Azure is pretty good as well. And you can pretty much just play around with all the different voices that all of these different providers have. If you were to add a voice ID manually, you can actually train your voice in 11 Labs and then add it here. So it's actually your voice doing the speaking instead of an AI generated voice, which is pretty cool. You can add some background noise, like some office noise in the background. Do we need anything down here? No. So this can all stay like that. Let's go into functions. So I'm going to get to this tool section in a bit, but below here we have enable and call function. So the chatbot, the AI bot can go ahead and end the call on their side. Here you can add a forwarding number. So if you wanted to escalate to a human, which is great for call centers, customer support, the chatbot can go ahead and scale that up to a human instead. And call phrases, so we can just leave that as goodbye. So custom functions and tools are the two main way that you can get a voice agent to do actions during the call. Custom functions, they've been deprecated, so we can no longer use them on Vapi, but they got replaced by tool calls, and I'm going to show you how to set that up in a sec. So here we go to advanced. So HIPAA compliance, you don't want that enabled because then you cannot get the transcript of the call unless you actually have some sort of medical client that you're working with. Audio recording, we want that checked in. Here you can configure some of the characteristics of the LLM if you want it, how much of a delay you want it to when it replies, when the call ends due to inactivity. So let's actually put this up a little higher, maybe 20 seconds, 25. Maximum duration of a call, so in case someone doesn't hang up the phone, you're not getting charged 15 seconds, 15 cents a minute. Server URL. So here for server URL, when you're doing a inbound voice agent like this, that's transient, it's going to get activated within a make.com scenario. So what you do is you set up a webhook, you grab the address, you go ahead and you add it to the server URL here under messaging, and you also go to your settings and you also add it here. And then that's gonna, every time someone calls the voice agent, it's gonna send that data to this link, which sends it here. And then here is when the voice agent actually picks up the call with the custom data that we've added. So let's go back to assistant. And then client messages, you don't really have to worry about too much, but for server messages, it's important that you keep function call, end of call report, transcript, and then tool calls, especially tool calls for tool calls to actually work. So make sure you have these checked in. We don't need anything else here. And then let's go back to functions. Oops, I'm in the wrong assistant. Let's go back to Jen. Here we go. So within tool calls, so in order to create this like I did, you go to create new tool, which will take you to the tool section. You click new tool up here. And here you will also have another server URL. So this will be different. So each tool will have a different webhook URL. So we go to make, we add the server URL. So let's say we were doing the get time function. So you would go to your make.com scenario, you would add another webhook, you would copy it to the address, and then you go back to Vapi, you add it here. Oops, I don't think I copied it right. You add it here, you save, you add any properties that it needs, and by properties, basically any data. So if we were doing, let's say the book meeting, you would need the email, you would need the name of the prospect. So that's where you would describe that here, for example, name, and then the bot would know to ask for someone's name. So we're just gonna delete that. You would click next, you would name it, add a description, and then save, and then it would look something like this. So if we go to get current time, we have the server URL from here. We have the tool name, get current time, gets the current time. In this case, we don't need property because it's just retrieving some information. Next, let's go to get schedule, which is the second function. Again, we have a separate server URL for get schedule, which is here. And don't worry, I'm going to go over all of the modules for every single tool call as well, so you're able to just follow along as you go. So we grab that here, paste it here, details, tool name, get schedule, gets the busy times in the schedule, and you can see here we have one of the properties, date, because that time is going to be saved as a date. And finally, book meeting. So same thing. Let's go to our book meeting flow. Get the URL. Add the URL here. Tool name, book meeting. Tool description, books the meeting with the sales rep. And here we have for properties, we have the email address, we have the meeting date, meeting time, and the prospect's name. Cool, now that we have the tools all set up, let's go into the make scenarios in a bit more detail. Starting from the first one. So again, we already did our server URL for the assistant. This is when someone gives a call. This is the flow that runs. And then we provide a webhook response that looks like this. And I'm going to show you how to get this information now. So in order to get the accurate JSON schema, in order to have the assistant reply on the phone from make.com, we go to the Vapi API documentation and we go to get assistant here. So under authorization, I'm not gonna open it because it's gonna expose my API keys, but you would add your API keys. And the way to find your API keys is you go back to Vapi, you go to your settings, go to API keys, and it's going to be right here, and you can just copy it. So once we have that, then we need the ID of our voice assistant. And to get that, we go back to assistant. So let's go back to Jen, and it's going to be this right here. And you just copy the assistant ID and you paste it here. And then once you do that, you're going to click send, and you're going to get a response like this. If these two parameters are correct, you're going to get a 200 without any error, and you're going to get this JSON schema here. So we're going to go ahead and copy this JSON schema because we actually have to do a bit of editing because it's not going to work right out of the box like this. There's a couple of changes we need to make. So in order to edit the JSON, we can go to JSON Pathfinder, which is a free online tool. It makes the JSON looks nice and it lets you edit it. So let's go ahead and paste what we've got from the get assistant. And now there's a couple of changes we need to make for it to work. So the first change we need to make is the ID and org ID. We need to get rid of those. So we can just delete this. The updated and created at, we need to remove those as well. So let's get rid of that. All right, so far so good. And finally, we need to get rid of this server URL secret. And then remember to remove this comma as well, since there isn't another parameter afterwards. Just remove the space here. And then there's one final thing we need to do. And that is we need to wrap this under an assistant tag. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we can add the end curly bracket here. Oops, I forgot this here. There we go. So now we go ahead, we copy, we paste this into our first make.com module. And here is the which is here, the webhook response. So as you can see, we already have this here. For status, 200. And then we want it to output in JSON. So you show advanced settings, the key, content type, and then value application JSON, and save. So let's just give this a quick run to see if it's working. And I'm going to go ahead and call the bot now.
Hey, this is Jen. How can I help you?
Awesome. See, it's working. Perfect. So let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the tool calls. Okay, so here it's the first tool call, the get current time. We've already did the first part where we added the webhook into the tool, and now we need to add the response. And this is how the response is going to look like. So you can just pause in order to get it down on your end, but this is essentially the schema. And then the way we're returning the time is with this results parameter with formatting the current date under this schema here. And we just click OK and we save. So that's 1 out of 3. Let's go on to the second one. So this is the workflow that actually checks the calendar to check to see what are the open times and what are the busy times in my schedule. So again, we already have the webhook. Next, we need to add a variable. So we set a variable called set requested date. And this variable is, again, the current date right now, and then formatted in this way. Click OK. And here we set end requested dates variable, and we do that by adding add days by this initial date, and then here I added 7. So what does this 7 mean? Essentially, it's how many days out in the future the bot is going to check the schedule. So if you wanted to make it next day bookings only, you would just change this to 1, because it's basically grabbing today's date and then adding 1 extra day, signifying tomorrow. If you wanted to have an availability of 1 month, then you would add 30 and it would check your schedule for 30 days. I'm keeping it for a week. You can schedule within 1 week in this case, but you can set it however you like. So we save that. Next, we add a Google Calendar module called Get Free Busy Information. Oops, let's go here. And then here under the minimum time, the set requested date, which is essentially today. And then the maximum time is that date plus how many days you added here. In this case, 7. Map your calendar ID. And then the next module is we add iterator based off of all of the busy times that Google Calendar has found. Click OK. We add a text aggregator here, and basically we're just formatting the dates. We aggregate this all into one text bundle. Here we set the variable full busy from this array aggregator. So if you remember from the prompt here, that it gets the time from the variable called busy times in get schedule. We're getting to that part of the process. And then finally here we add a webhook response, again with this schema, and then here results busy time equals this variable here, full busy. So this is basically all of the times in my schedule that I'm busy, and then we send that data over to the bot. So let's save that, and that's 2 out of 3, and let's go to the final one. So just as the previous ones, we have the webhook. We've added that to the tool. Here we actually add a OpenAI module, and what this OpenAI module does is it's taking the date and the time that the prospect said that they'd like to have the call, and it's turning it into a format that Google Calendar can read, because it's not able to read the date format straight from the box. So here we have the prompt, turn the date into ISO 8601 format. Here we define the parameter name, description, the type, and then just an example of how it should look like. Click OK. We create an event in Google Calendar next. Here, event name, so that's 100% optional on your end. The start date, so it's going to be this AI module here, because this is the formatted time that Google Calendar can read, while if we mapped it directly from the webhook response, it would be in a format that Google Calendar cannot read. Duration, in this case I put it for 30 minutes. You can put it for an hour, 25 minutes, and so on. Here we can just add a description, and here's the important parts where we need to have the prospect's name and the prospect's email address under attendees. And you can add a Google Meet video conference link as well. Click save. And if that went through successfully, then we get this webhook response. And again, very similar to the other responses we've sent, very similar schema. Difference this time is that the result will say, awesome, you're booked for whatever time that the prospect said. There is one thing I did forget to mention is, let's go back into Vapi. For phone numbers, you need to go to phone numbers and either import a phone number that you already have from Twilio or just buy one directly from Vapi for $2 a month. Unfortunately, I can't show this. If not, it's going to dox some private information. But basically, all you would do is just click here, buy a new phone number, and then not touch any of the settings. Just leave it as is. So now that we have all of that out of the way, we can go ahead and run the assistant to see how it performs. Awesome. So now that we have everything built out, the next step is to give Jen a call and to run all of the functions to see how it performs. So I'm going to go ahead and run all of these make scenarios, and then we'll give the voice bot another call. All right.
Hey, this is Jen. How can I help you?
Hey Jen, my name is Jose. I saw your website and I was potentially interested in scaling my business through your services.
Hi, Jose. Thanks for reaching out. Would you be interested in a 30-minute free strategy session with one of our consultants to discuss how we can help scale your revenue through content generation?
Yeah, that would be great.
Wonderful. Would tomorrow morning or afternoon work better for you?
Tomorrow morning would be better.
Give me a moment. Great. We have 2 slots available tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. Which one works best for you, Jose?
Could we do 9 a.m.?
I'm sorry, but 9 a.m. is already booked. We have 10:30 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. available. Would either of those times work for you?
How about 11 a.m.?
11 a.m. is also booked tomorrow. Let's go with 10:30 a.m. Does that work for you?
Yeah, let's do 10:30 a.m.
Great. Could I please have your full name and email address to book the appointment?
Sure, my full name is Jose Robinson.
Thank you, Jose. And your email address, please.
My email is
Hold on a sec. Awesome, Jose. You are booked for 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Do you have any final questions before we wrap up?
No, this has been
Strategy session.
this has been helpful. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome, Jose. We're looking forward to helping you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. And as you can see here, it automatically popped up in my calendar for the strategy session with Jose. The invite was sent to my other personal email address. And as you can tell that when I asked the bot for 9 a.m. and for 11 a.m., it had the context to know that those were busy times and it could not be scheduled. So I ended up recommending another time to 10:30 a.m., which was available. And that's how you build a simple appointment setter bot using automations and make.com in order to have powerful functionalities. So if you're interested in having something like this or any other type of automation set up for your business, that's what I specialize in, and these are the types of projects that I build for my clients. So the link to book a call with me directly is in the description. And I look forward to meeting with you, and until the next tutorial, thank you for your time.